I'm Arif Mohammed, a contributing editor for CIO. I'm here today with Craig Walker, VP and Global CIO, Shell Downstream, and we're talking today about transformational leadership. Craig is a commercially minded IT executive. He's known for driving results by developing high-performing teams and making strategic IT investments. Welcome, Craig.
Thank you.
Let's talk first about the changing role of the CIO. What are you seeing and experiencing?
Well, I think it's changing in all sorts of ways. I mean, if you look back over time and you think, why did a finance manager end up on a leadership team? Or why did the HR manager end up on a leadership team? It's not because they knew the numbers or they knew the people. It was because through their insight, they brought a lot more to that team.
Yeah.
So when strategy was being discussed, when decisions were being made, they could give a different take from their perspective. And often they saw across the whole piece. The CIO has to come of age as well. And you see that starting to happen across many, many companies. But these days, I don't think there's a thing that my company doesn't do that doesn't require IT to make that happen.
Yes.
And it's no longer just about making it happen. It's how do I get ahead of the opposition? How do I gain competitive advantage? How do I do it better, faster, slicker than somebody else? And if the tech guy isn't in the room, and I or she cannot go there just with my tech tool case
Yes.
and bleep and gurgle at the team. This is about me being an integral part of a leadership team, being part of the strategic discussion, part of the business discussion, and bringing my expertise and knowledge from, let's face it, as most CIOs have, a very wide vision across their sphere of influence. That's what you have to bring. You bring that and you have credibility, you're listened to, and decisions start to evolve and change because you can have an input around the advantage, the opportunity that technology brings.
Absolutely. So do you think that CIOs require different qualities from the past?
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, I think you no longer get there now just because you were technically very astute.
Yes.
It's now about being a business person.
Yes.
You got to think with a commercial mindset. You got to understand a lot more about what goes on externally.
Yes.
It's about understanding the world out there, where the technology is going, what the disruptive business models are,
Yes.
bringing that understanding in and playing all those roles of, have you thought about, hey, I'm a bit worried about what the opposition's doing with this technology. Could
Yes.
we do this? That's a great opportunity. You know we could do that very easily, right? But you've got to always come from the business first. It's not about the technology. It's about what are we trying to achieve as a business.
So you're known for building really strong teams as well who understand the agenda of the CIO. What's required in transforming the teams themselves so that they are on the same page as you?
Well, I think there's a number of things, but I think when I took over the latest team, which was 3 years ago, we set out with 3 very simple themes. We did the classic, think about all the problems, stick them on stickies, cluster them, all the good stuff you do. But there were 3 clear themes to me that helped me take my team forward to this modern era. Number 1 was commerciality.
Yes.
So I don't care whether you're me or the guy who comes to fix my PC. And by the way, I'm not saying he or she's the lowest of the low. They're probably far more important than I am on a day-to-day basis. But they have to understand, how does their part of the business make money?
Yes.
As that barrel of hydrocarbon comes down that supply chain, where do we add value? Therefore, where are the threats and where are the opportunities? Understand that. The second one is one team.
Yes.
It's no good IT sitting off here and saying, oh, well, if only we'd have had this, if only we'd have had that, oh, we do this stuff. No, no, no. These days, if you're going to succeed, it's not actually just about your internal team, it's about the ecosystem around you. You've got to really stay focused on what's the goal, what am I driving for, and who do I need in my natural team to make that happen? And the third one is results for me. Because it's not about somebody coming into my office and going, wow, you should see the project we just did, on time, on budget, cool stuff. Because the first question I'm going to ask you is, so where's the money? Did we deliver the money to the bottom line as we said we would do?
Yes.
And to begin with, my people said, well, that's not my job, Craig. Surely that's a business. No, they've just entrusted you with money to help them deliver something that was going to move the needle in the business.
Yes.
Now we better go work out if we did, and if we didn't, we better know what to tweak to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think this ruthless focus on how do we make the money, where do we make the money, how do I defend that? How do I make it better? How do I enable new business models I hadn't even thought of?
Yes.
Is now core to the way I and my team have to think. You get there, suddenly you start to have a whole different conversation with your business colleagues.
Yes, that's very good. So Shell as an organisation is over 100 years old, right?
Yes.
So how do you go about disrupting very established processes
Yes.
and actually creating something agile and new?
I think the number one thing any CIO has to achieve, and I said that earlier, is credibility.
Right.
if you're not credible because the basic run and maintain, the reliability and security and operational stats of your systems day in and day out has to be there, right?
Yes.
Then it's about, now I have the right conversation. Based on that right conversation, I have to really take my people on a journey in terms of skills and capabilities.
Yes.
I don't know, a decade ago, I could have made a decision. I probably wouldn't have been proved wrong for 4 years. Now it's probably 4 months, it could be 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
It's moving so fast.
Absolutely, yeah.
So my people have to think in a different way. They have to think about, how do I harness all this wonderful stuff? And let's face it, a lot of it's quite simple building blocks, but how do I put it together in a different way that others haven't? I mean, if you look at something like Salesforce, for example, I can get real differentiation out of Salesforce, even though the guy next to me in the next business along is running the same modules as me. But if I can acquire the data better, manipulate the data better, and use it better, I can win.
Yeah.
So every type of application, every type of solution has a place to play. But the emphasis for me is moving more into data. What am I doing with the data? 100 years, we have 100 years of data on all sorts of different things. Are we really using that properly? And how do I and my people really help the business gain the real value out of that?
Yeah.
I think the other bit is you've got to lead in a different way. You know, often when people ask you what do you do as a leader, I think there's a temptation to say, well, I lead by example.
Right.
And that's a very good thing to say, right? I don't think you should ask people to do what you're not prepared to do yourself. On the other hand, the quote I love, which actually comes from Nelson Mandela, is I think my job as a leader is to inspire people to be better than they ever believed they could be.
Wow.
How do I help them take that next step? How do I help them evolve and move forward? And I think, again, you have to help your people learn how to learn again.
Yes.
You know, for big companies, a lot of us joined those big companies. We came in with our degrees 20, 30 years ago. We thought that would see us through. No, it doesn't. You've got to remember how to learn. So get out there. Go learn about the opposition, go learn about the technology, go learn about the business environment, and help me disrupt my own business before somebody else does.
That's brilliant, Craig. So speaking of learning, in retrospect, is there any particular implementation or something that you've done in the past that you do better now?
How long have we got? I think, you know, hindsight is always a wonderful thing. I think the most important thing in the way that IT has evolved is, for too long, we didn't challenge. We saw ourselves as a service, and if you set yourself up as a service, people will treat you as a service.
Yes.
You have to move into the challenger role. You have to move into a position where you're willing to stand up for what you believe in and say no.
Really good,
that is not a good idea. That is not perhaps the best way to do this. Have you thought of? Because I think most of the things in my career where it's gone wrong has been because even though I didn't like it, I didn't necessarily like the idea, I thought, well, I'm the IT guy, I need to go do that. I think those days have long passed. And that comes back to some of the earlier stuff we've just talked about. If you want a seat at the table, you better be prepared to take that seat at the table, stand by your beliefs, be authentic, have the discussion, and have the say. Sure, if the boss says, hear all that, but we're going to do this, that's fine. Someone has to make the call. But make sure you're willing to speak your mind. And I think in the past, IT hasn't enough. And I know we've made big mistakes, certainly even from a business point of view, where we have not gained the value we've made, or worse, we've lost money because we went ahead and did something without understanding what the technology could have done or the implications of some of the sort of secondary effects of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, active engagement and initiative and good leadership.
Yes, I think so.
So moving on, looking at this, the next 5 years for Shell IT, what would your vision be?
Gosh, that's a great question. You know, I think when you look at the way it has to evolve, we're no longer an oil and gas company. We are an energy company, all the way from the generation of that energy, the creation of that energy, through to the way we will deliver energy solutions to our customers and consumers. That last bit is interesting because I think many oil companies lost their way somewhere in the 90s and early 2000s, where they kind of went for this, we're going to shift volume mentality, and we lost our customer centricity. As you drive back to that customer centricity, you're not talking about doing mega programs anymore. You're talking about having to be a much more agile, flexible, learning, transformational organization. And to do that, you've got to change the mindsets of even your own people who perhaps have grown up in an organization that says, I'm part of this, my skills are that, I report to this person. Now we have to be able to form and deform teams fast. I want to move the skills to where they're next needed, what's the next big opportunity, the value opportunity, where have I got to move fast to beat a potential person into the market, and how do I stay incredibly customer focused?
Yes.
Because in any business these days, you lose touch with a customer, you're in trouble, right? Just about every business is moving from selling a product to a service, and I make that service part of your lifestyle choice. I need my people to move faster, think faster, go to proof of concept faster.
Yeah.
Don't fear failing, right? If we fail, let's fail fast, learn and move on. And a lot of the modern tools allow you to do that. Use the customer and those that are close to you to help you develop your own software, to help you develop the sort of functionality they want. That's a different IT department to what a lot of us grew up in, and certainly what our predecessors had in the 60s and 70s, where you just built big things and they were very internally focused. Now it's all about the people out there. How do I make it more interesting, more reliable, more secure, more traceable, perhaps even more fun to buy Shell's products and services? And if I can do that, I will be seen by the business as an integral part of their business and of their leadership team, and we will win.
Thank you so much for talking today, Craig.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
We're rolling.
Are we? Well, let's be sensible then.